creative writing. Do you know what is creative writing? Creative writing is any writing that goes outside the bounds of normal, professional, journalistic, academic, or technical form of literature, typically identified by an emphasis on narrative craft, character development, and the use of literary tropes or various traditions of poetry and critique. Due to the looseness of the definition, it is possible for writing such as feature stories to be considered creative writing, even though they fall under journalism because the content of features is specifically focused on narrative and characters development. Both fictional and non-fictional words fall into this category, including such forms as novel, biographies, short story, and poems. In the academic setting, creative writing is typically separated into fiction and poetry classes, with a focus on writing in an original style, as opposite to imitating pre-existing genres such as crime or horror. Writing for the screen and stage, screenwriting and playwriting are often taught separately but fit under the creative writing category as well. Now we discuss about the element. The first element is action fiction. Action fiction is the literary genre that includes spy novel, adventure stories, tales of terrors and intrigue, cloak and dagger, for example, and mysteries. This kind of story utilizes suspense, the tension that is built up when the reader wishes to know how the conflict between the protagonist and antagonist is going to be resolved, or what the resolution to the puzzle of a thriller is. There are many lists of action novels, such as 58 Minutes, for example, in 1987, The Bird Identity, The Ching Man, The Equalizers, First Blood, Kill in Action, Man on Fire, Nothing Lasts Forever. They're the example of action novels. The next element is characters, art. In fiction, a character, sometimes known as a fictional characters, is a person or other being in a narrative, such as a novel, play, television series, film, or video games. The characters may be entirely fictional or based on a real-life person, in which case the distinction of a fictional versus real characters may be made. Different from the ancient Greek word, the English word dates from the Restoration, though it became widely used after its appearance in Tom Jones in 1749, for example. From this, the sense of a part played by an actor developed. Before this development, the terms dramatist, personal, naturalized in English from Latin and meaning mask of the drama, encapsulated the notion of character from the literal aspect of mask. Characters, particularly when enacted by an actor in theater or cinema, involve the illusion of being a human person. In literature, characters guide readers through their stories, helping them to understand plot and content themes, Since the end of the 18th century, the press in characters has been used to describe an effective impersonation by an actor. Since the 19th century, the art of creating characters as practiced by actors or writers has been called characterization. And then, an author or creator basing a character on a real person can use a person they know, a historical figure, a current figure who they have not met, or on themselves, with the latter being either an author's secret or an example of self-insertion. The use of a famous person easily identifiable with certain characters treated as the best form a principal character is a feature of allegorical work, such as Animal Farm, which portrays Soviet revolutionaries as pig. Other authors, especially for historical fiction, make use of real people and create fictional stories revolving around the life, as with the Paris Wife, which revolves around Ernest Hemingway, for example. Then, the next element is conflict. The conflict in narrative, word of narrative, conflict is the challenge main characters need to solve to achieve the goals. Traditionally, conflict is a major literary element of narrative of dramatic structures that create challenges in a story by adding uncertainty as to whether the goal will be achieved. A narrative is not limited to a single conflict, while conflict may not always resolve in narrative. The resolution of a conflict creates closure, fulfillment, which may or may not occur at a story's end. Next, we will discuss about conflict in narrative. Conflict in narrative come in many forms. Man versus man, such as in depicted here in the battle between King Arthur and Mordred, for example, is particularly common in traditional literature, fairy tales, and myths. The next element is dialogue in writing. So when you read a fiction, the dialogue in fiction is a verbal exchange between two or more characters, but can also involve strategic use of silence. If there is only one character talking aloud, it is a monologue. The George said is the identifier, says is the verb. Most writers use because reader familiarity with say prevent from drawing attention to itself. Although other verbs such as ask, sought, or reply are acceptable, some identifiers get in the reader's ways. For example, hello, he croaked nervously. My name's Horace. The next element is literary genre. What is a literary genre? Literary genre is a category of literary composition. Genres may be determined by literary technique, technique, tone, content, or even is the case of fiction length. They generally move from more abstract, encompassing classes, which are then further subdivided into more concrete distinction. The distinction between genres and categories are flexible and loosely defined, and even the rule designating genre change over time and are fairly unstable. Literary work exists in various times, and genre categorize them based on specific shared convention, as noted above. Genre are then further divided into subgenres. Literature is subdivided into the classic three forms of action: prose, poetry, drama, and prose. Poetry may then be subdivided into the genre of lyric, epic, and dramatic. The lyric includes all the shorter forms of poetry, for example, song, ode, ballad, elegy, sonnet. Dramatic poetry include comedy, tragedy, melodrama, and matures like tragicomedy. The standard division of drama into tragedy and comedy derives from Greek drama. This division into subgenre can continue. Comedy has its own subgenres, include, for example, comedy of manners, sentimental comedy, burlesque comedy, and satirical comedy, and so on. The next element is narration. Narration is the use of written or spoken commentary to convey a story to an audience. Narration is the use of written or spoken commentary to convey a story to an audience. Narration is conveyed by a narrator, a specific person, or unspecified literary voice developed by the creator of the story. They deliver information to the audience, particularly about the plot, the series of events. Narration is required element of all written stories, novel, short stories, poem, memoirs, etc., with the function of conveying the story in its entirety. However, narration is merely optional in most other storytelling formats, such as film, play, television show, and video games, in which the story can be conveyed through other means like a dialogue between characters or visual action. There are many types of narration, such as narrative point of view, perspective or voice, narrative tense, narrative technique. The next element, about pace, narrative. In literature, pace or pacing is the speed at which a story is told. There are many methods in pace, flipping for past a scene that is in the story but never appear in the book. Skipping step, in a logical sequence of events. The noun is about short scenes. The next is about frequent paraphrasing, short sentences, dialogue, action, and then active voice and aggressive verbs. Flat cutting, removal of superfluous word and phrase, and unnecessary adjective and adverbs. What is the next element? Plot. In a literary work, film, story, or other narrative, the plot is the sequence of events where each affects the next one through the principle of cause and effect. The causal event of a plot can be thought of as a series of events linked by the connectors, and so plot can vary from the simple, such as in a traditional ballad, to forming complex interwoven structures with each part sometimes referred to as a subplot or imbroglio, in common usage, for example, a movie plot. However, it can mean a narrative summary or story synopsis rather than a specific cause and event sequence. Plot is similar in meaning to the term storyline. The next, we will discuss about scene. The next is about scene, performing art. A scene is a dramatic part of a story at a specific time and place between specific characters. The term is used in both filmmaking and theaters, with some distinction between the two. In film making and video production, a scene is generally thought of as a section of a motion picture in a single location and continuous time made up of a series of shots, which are each of a set of contiguous frames from individual cameras from varying angles. And then we discuss about the next element, about theme. Who knows about theme? In contemporary literary studies, a theme is a central topic, subject, or message within a narrative. Theme can be divided into two categories. A word's thematic concept is what readers think the word is about, and its thematic statement being what the word says about the subject. Themes are often distinguished from premise. A story may have several themes. Themes often explore historical common or cross-culturally recognizable ideas, such as ethical questions, and are usually implied rather than stated explicitly. An example of this would be whether one supply a seemingly better life at the price of giving up part of one's humanity, which is the theme in Aldous Huxley's, for example, in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Along with plot, character setting, and style, theme is considered one of the components of fiction. Well, students, I have explained to you many elements of creative writing. So you have to know much about this element, learn again, and then apply it. So if you can apply it well, you will be a good creative writer. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.